Yo. Yeah, it is. My chat is like really broken. Hang on. There we go. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon, brother. Long time. Not until everything is done, which will be a while. Unfortunately. I'm only now gearing up to be here. Because come, like, July is when I'll have more time. July is when I'll have basically more time for everything. Right now, I am caught between a few different things, and there isn't really much in between. So, like, the month of June's going to be a little bit busy. And we're not even there yet. I just know it will be. Unfortunately. But we'll see. One thing at a time. Slow but sure. Where are you going to sink the chest with all the treasure? Sink, you mean bury? Bum, ba, da, bum, bum. Okay, that's good enough for this one for now. Bum, bum, ba, da, 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 na, 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 na. Yeah, it'll be a little rough for a bit, but ideally this shit gets done. We don't have to think about it again. You know, sometimes life is just a bitch, and it's not the best of things, but it is what it is. I long for the day to sit down. I long for the day to wake up and not have to do anything and just sit down and stream and play games. Because that shit hasn't been here in a while. I have been well too busy. Cool. We're good, we're chilling. Yeah, it is. We are chilling for now. I'm going to be streaming League in about 2 hours. 9 o'clock. I want to play some Bank Plank. And I think tonight I have enough time to actually stream for like 5 hours. So that's nice. I figured I'd get on here first. Get this out of the way and then be on the other channel. This is the Anvil of Doom. The dreaded Anvil of Doom. Which, oddly enough, doesn't even come with a base. They say when you play it, there won't even be a base. So, I don't know how I like that. I think what I'll do is just make a thematic base for this thing, because it's kind of boring without one. It's buffs. It does buffs, and then it shoots like a spell out that does damage. Can give your guys, like, I think it's re-rolling armor. It can give them moves like distance. It can do damage to a unit. It's like a supportive piece. Pretty useful. It can't move in a game. It just gets plopped down and sits there, but, like, you know, it's cool. We're just trying to cut off the excess bits of resin. Well, this is super glue. Works fine. You're not really supposed to glue this with anything but super glue. Resin's not the most fun thing to work with, obviously, but super glue will do the trick. I just need to figure out the base size for this thing that I want to put it on. And I can get making it. Like, this kit is so sad. When it comes to gameplay, well, there's no GW super glue. They don't sell super glue. They sell plastic glue. This is resin. This isn't, like, plastic, all right? I mean, even then, you don't have to buy glue at GW at all. You could buy glue elsewhere. Like, literally anywhere else. Yeah. I mean, I need new super glue. My super glue's kind of, trash. I think one of the super glues I had, like, exploded. It exploded from the inside. Like, what is that? I've never seen that. I have no idea. Canned pineapple. Yeah, have fun with that, buddy. That might just be you. It might just be you. Okay, that's fine. Bum, 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 bum. Man, don't we love working with resin? Isn't it so great? Well, because you kind of know what is kit and what isn't. That's kind of the idea. I've seen this kit so many times that I just know what's what. Or you look at pictures. So, like, a lot of this is just excess garbage that's from the casting process. Like, looking at this, it's very simple in terms of what is what. You look at the bottom. 2 big nubs. Okay, I don't know what the fuck you're typing, but, like, you gotta take 10 minutes, bro. Like, chill the fuck out. What are you typing? Chill out. Good Jesus Christ, man. Take 10 minutes. Bing chill. He's relating a story. Okay, well, I don't want to hear about no... whatever the fuck you're talking about. Bro, chill out. A schizo story. Schizo. Give it 10 minutes, he'll be back. It's all good. Unless you want to join him. Ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, bum. Sure, I feel bad. It's okay. He'll come back. Don't worry about it. Whatever the story was, I mean, just chill out, you know? It doesn't need to be that deep. You're good, you're good. I think when it comes to this, I need to figure out how I want to make it different. I do not want this the same. Not the funny mohawk. Yeah. Sprue bits. Sprue bits. This is going to need some serious cleanup. All resin kit bits are fucking terrible. Terrible to work with. And this thing. All this stuff needs to be thoroughly examined. What I would like to do, though, actually, is look up something very quickly. One sec. Captain, I love you. God bless you, son. God bless you. God bless you, son. All right. Well, I've done Warhammer for over 20 years at this point. People have done it a lot longer than I have, but ages ago, my stepbrothers kind of like introduced me to it because they had a bit, and then it kind of kicked off from there. Sorry, I'm trying to look into a book that has the base size of something. Where are the Tomb Kings? Where are the Tomb Kings? Tomb Kings, hello. Tomb Kings. Here we go. Monarchs of Nehekara. No. Lich Priests? No. Character Mounts. A Necrotect? No. Wait, what the fuck? 142. A Necrolith Bone Dragon comes on a 100 by 150 millimeter base. 100 by 150 millimeter base. Rainston, thank you, bro. 100 by 150. Bum 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 bum. By 150. Jesus. It's actually pretty fucking big. So realistically, oh my god, that's huge. 150. Okay, what does this even look like then? So the anvil would be here. The furnace would be here. Crazily enough, that actually does work. You know what? 100 by 150 would work for the Anvil of Doom if you're going to do like a diorama. It actually works. Okay, let me write that down. I wish I could have something to that can hook me for that long. I'm only 23, but I don't have anything. Watching you is pretty relaxing though. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to hobbies, some things you can kind of take with you through life. That's Warhammer for me. I was doing Warhammer well before even knowing what League was. And thankfully I've been able to keep up with it. So that's good. We're good, we're chilling. No, my hair's just tied up. You should post this stuff somewhere. Yeah, I mean, eventually when I actually start getting stuff done, I will probably make an Instagram. Again, right now I'm gearing up to kind of like shift my stuff back here, and when I can finally situate myself here and be able to do stuff every day, that's the goal. So yeah, right now, not much. Can't do anything, but July onwards, that's when things are going to get better. Ideally. So that's what we're waiting for. All right. Is there anything else in the old world that has a big base? Let's see. I like that when I queue up the Games Workshop site, they're like, I don't want to see the French site. I want to see the English site. God dang it. Show me the English site. What the fuck is this? Why is this site so garbage? Shop. Old world. Okay. Let me take a look here really quickly. Bretonia. I don't think Bretonia has anything large. Nope. Nope. Field Trebuchet. Fuck, that's in the other book now. You know what? Hang on. Field Trebuchet is on a 60 by 100 millimeter. 60 by 100. 60. That's way too small. Nope. 60 by 100 is very tiny, so that's not going to work. Tomb Kings. The Kemrian War Sphinx. 60 by 100 again. 60 by 100. 60 by 100. Okay, not the Kemrian War Sphinx. Nope. The only thing I can see being worthy of a base like this, what about Cetra? Isn't Cetra's base fucking massive? What the fuck is that? Oh my god. 100 by 150? 100 by 150. Okay. I think, honestly, the anvil needs to be on 100 by 150. That'd be badass. The French are invading Warhammer. Yeah, okay. I mean, for the Canadian site, they give you two options. I cannot read French, so it's got to be English for me, brother. Yo, yo. Let's check the giant size. That's a square. That doesn't even fucking fit. What is this? You know what? Can I even purchase a base size 100 by 150? Is that even a thing? You can, and I can do it. It's only $10. I'm actually going to. This is what I want to put the anvil on. Everyone in the old world, when they're playing this game, all they do for the anvil is they put this on the battlefield, and they're like, that's it. That's the anvil. That's fucking boring. You got to put the diorama. You got to put the forge. You got to put the apprentice. Like, you got to make the anvil guard in front of that bitch protecting it. Like, come on. This is like the centerpiece of the Dwarven army. There is no reason the anvil should not be based on something big. Yeah. All right, cool. 1 by 150. Yeah. Watering the Warhammer channel daily. Well, we're going to be on the other channel at 9, so we're going to be here for about 2 hours, and then we'll do a League stream. Okay, so I need to kind of cut off a bunch of stuff for this, and I think I want to wear a mask, to be fair. No, you're good. Ah! You're good. Just, the shit you were typing was weird, dude. It was a little weird. I'm Bane. I'm Fat Bane. Ow! Look, I'll even glasses up. Where are the glasses? Where are the glasses? Oh. Watch out. Damn, look at me, dude. Kind of hard to see. Okay, maybe I don't have to do all this for resin, but, like, I'm old now. I don't trust it. In my youth, I'd eat resin by the block. Now that I'm 90, I can't smell none of this. Can't even fucking see it. Fuck the glasses. Canadian Walter White, yeah. Obese Walter White. Not the best hour for European peasants like me. I mean, it'll be back to normal soon enough. Hang on, let me... How does this even go on? Like that? Damn. Yeah, soon enough we'll be back to a regular schedule. Right now, not so much. Well, either way it works. It's working. It's very pressed. It's okay. You know, I do kind of want... I don't want these fucking, like, resin flakes in my eyes. How are you even supposed to see if you're breathing into this? If my view gets, like, foggy. Ask the 8-year-old Malaysian kid. True, true. You know what? I'm just gonna... It's just... I'll work on that. The anvil is like a supportive piece. Gives everyone, like, different buffs. It can hit the enemy with a multi-hit spell. It's a supportive offensive piece that doesn't move. So, like, at the beginning of every phase, you just kind of, like, pound the runes and do your thing. Strike the runes. Strike the runes, laddie. How do you play tabletop Warhammer? With dice. And a lot of spare time. And other people with the exact same schedule as you. Have you ever thought about buying a 3D printer that prints some structural stuff? I own a 3D printer. I've even got one, an 8K or 4K or something, sitting in storage that I haven't been able to get to. I've done printing. I don't like it. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you ever think of buying a printer because it's going to save you money, I would rather buy the GW Minis, I'm not going to lie. I don't like the process of making them. I don't like the cleanup. I don't like the storage. I don't like the smell. I don't like the fumes. I don't like turning my fucking room into, like, a meth chamber. I don't like it. So, completely up to you. If you've got space and whatnot, that's awesome. But when I get back into 3D printing, I'm going to be putting it outside the house. It's going to be in its own area. And I'm only going to use it for printing my bits. I'm going to sculpt my own bits, print my own bits, and that's it. I'm not going to print full miniatures unless it's like some one-off weird thing. Most of it's just going to be for Warhammer. 3D printing is a hobby in itself, exactly. It's, I don't like it. Genuinely, I like what 3D printing can achieve, but I hate the process of 3D printing. It's awful. It's very, very bad. You can use your own 3D printed minis as long as you've made them. That's the rule with GW. If you can make your own stuff and print your own stuff, you can use it. So, like, what I would plan on building, or rather sculpting, would be like shields, tankards, barrels, you know, just generic, like, dwarven accessories that would go on my minis. That's what I'm about. I don't really want to print my own army. I want to print accessories for the army. Yeah, I don't think you want to. I didn't realize you need a mask for scraping. Well, this is resin. Either way, you could wear a mask for resin, plastic, you could do anything, but, like, for resin, I'd rather do it. Resin is not something you want to be breathing. Don't want to breathe plastic either, but, like, you know. You are better safe than sorry. Yeah, take it easy, man. Pizza, have a good night, buddy. No worries. You already it, so what's the problem? You already what? Oh, okay, true, but yeah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather avoid resin if I can. That is true, though. I mean, either way, there's no harm in putting on a mask that takes 1 minute, not even a minute, 10 seconds to put on, you know? There is no harm in doing so. Eating chocolate fine, breathing chocolate bad. True. You see that little fucking... There's a video of a woman who's eating a salad, but she's smelling chocolate. What a great video. Okay, you gotta stop. What are you people typing? Like, I understand there was a study lately of, like, microplastics found in men's balls. You didn't know that? Apparently, if you're a man, you got microplastics in your balls. Which, if anything, for a Warhammer player is profit. Because you could one day turn that into minis. Like, how the fuck do they even end up down there? Like, what? I don't know. That's life. That's life. Speaking of Lego, did you guys see the new Zelda Lego that was officially shown? The Great Deku Tree for 300 smackaronis. $300, yeah, for the Great Deku Tree. Cheaper than the Faker skin. Yeah, what a load of shit that was. Oh my god. Listen, I'm done buying digital dog shit, okay? If I'm going to spend my money, it's going to be on physical efforts. I want to see where my money's going, not to some digital fucking account that means nothing. One ban and all the money you've spent is gone. Same thing with one house fire, but like, what's likely? I guess you never know. If you live in Australia, both. Analog dog shit. At least I can play with this after the game finally hits the ground. Yeah, I mean, your money, your choice. Do what you want. I don't think I'd ever. You know what? I'm saying that I would never spend $500 in a game, but if they brought out like the legendary Gangplank bundle for $500, like unironically, I'd contemplate it. But even then, it's just such a waste of money. Looks like a shitty Jin skin. Hey, it looks like whatever. I would say it's very cool that he did get a skin, because, like, if there was ever a player to be honored, it needs to be Faker. Obviously. I bought the signature skins in Darktide maybe 6 months ago, and I literally have been lamenting over it since. I don't even know what that is. Is that like exclusive, expensive things? Isn't it FOMO? I mean, something that expensive will probably be FOMO'd, yeah. Well, resin. Goggles for the metal. So my eyes. I mean, I was trying to wear goggles, but like, whatever. Wasn't working. Mm. I had to repair this anyways. The fucking Finecast is so garbage. Building Warhammer takes way more effort to clean sprues than for Gundam. Oh, for sure. I mean, Gundam is more so sanding. Warhammer has sanding, but like a lot of it is kind of with the older kits, you're essentially reshaping pieces. Any of the newer kits are honestly just like Gundam. But the older Warhammer pieces are not the best in terms of build. It's just the casting process. Like, this was made initially in metal, and when it comes to metal sculpts, they're not the best because it's very... What's the word? The process is crude, I guess you could say, right? You're pouring metal into a mold, and it hardens, and then out comes a figure. Whereas with a lot of the newer technologies, they're all injected, right? Big professional, tens of $1,000 machines injected with plastic, compressed, whatever. Out comes a perfect sprue, a little bit of excess plastic, but not much compared to like stuff like this that has a lot of flashing on the blade and different things that are weird and chunky. A lot of stuff that shouldn't be there. The process is crude. Squizgario, buddy. Yeah, those are Lord of the Rings. This is Warhammer Fantasy. Figure is pretty flat in order to make a good metal mini. But some of them are chunky. I mean, you can clearly see where, like, the molds came together. A line right there, a line going through here. So, like, you know, top to bottom, poured it in, whatever. Metal minis are the cheapest to produce. Typically, you'll see companies as startups kind of like selling metal miniatures. These days, resin printing is cheaper than metal, I believe, or at least the process is much cheaper. Or easier, I should say. You know, some people do like the traditional metal castings and whatnot to like resin printed figures. It's just whatever you're after is what you go for. Well, you know what's crazy is Mark Merrill, so one of the founders of Riot and League, he is such a big Warhammer 40K fan. He's even worked with like Frontier Wargaming and all that stuff. He's in tournaments. He's very ingrained in that scene, the competitive like 40K scene. Yeah, that's something. Don't get into resin printing. I got out of it. I don't like it, but that's my opinion. It ain't worth it. Use it for bits. No, he plays guard. Pretty sure he's a guard guy. He plays a bunch of stuff. At Riot Games, they've got game rooms with Warhammer tables. So, if that tells you anything. Yeah, they could do that. You could have cookie cutter generic, like, Noxian infantry, Bilgewater pirates, whatever it may be. You know, the coolest thing about games like that is seeing a named character. You can have all the Joe Blows running around, but, like, Gangplank joins the battle, Trundle joins the battle, fucking, you know, you have a Demacian force, and then they bring in Kale. Shit like that, like, that's where the hype is, right? This is a stir. Hmm. Well, these are Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I mean, you know why this screams Gimli? I mean, to be fair, um, Gimli finds his battle axe in Moria. I believe it was one of the guards in there or something. And these are Khazad guard. These are the guys who would guard Balin. Balin being, you know, Lord of Moria at the time before he died. And makes sense. No, this is essentially the inhabitants of Moria before it fell. So, well, these are Lord of the Rings dwarves. This is Warhammer Fantasy dwarves. These are like the elite bodyguard of the king, the Khazad guard. It was all based on Warcraft 3, so I'm not surprised that they'll do stuff that Warcraft was based on. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, they could do a bunch of stuff. I mean, it is a fantasy setting, and fantasy settings can kind of go far, right, if you really develop them. And they can turn into something more than just, it's Lord of the Rings. Or it's whatever fantasy setting is relevant. I really need, does anyone here use scrapers or, like, blades that are more so like chisels? Does anyone use chisel blades? This thing. Not exactly. Well, because, I mean, I have to chisel this. This is not really a chisel blade. This is more so, those would be... They would slot into a handle like this, but they would be flat. That's what that would look like. I think I've had some. No, these are all... No, not with these. Either way, it's basically done. Like, you can really work with resin. It's resin is more fun to work with than metal, only because you can shape it and push it. It's softer, but it's just shittier to, like, deal with. Peeling a potato with a knife. Yeah. Or it's literally just a chisel. Like, you stab it into places and it can kind of, like, you know, you can't put a blade in here. So what you would do is you'd imagine this, the chisel, you would just kind of go like this. Right? And it's flat, so you'd kind of push up the debris against the lip, and you'd have a big straight angle. Or, again, you can kind of just poke it to death, and since it's soft enough, it'll kind of work. Resin takes a little bit more work to clean up, for sure. There's just more imperfections. Like, even with this, there's like a mold line running up. Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of different things you can do. Tools are always useful for a variety of reasons. Like, as an example with this, still probably use something like this. Maybe not. I don't think I actually have the right tool for this. Unless I can stab it with a blade. Yeah, okay. This is resin. Yeah, it's the Anvil of Doom. I prefer, honestly, I had the metal anvil. I still have a metal Anvil of Doom. I'm not opening it, though. It's sealed. A long time ago I had it, and you're essentially going to get these problems, except it's going to be in metal, so you can't clean them. I prefer the resin one. Personally. Like, as an example, I'm 99% sure on the Metal Mini, you've got this mold line running through it, because this is just a direct cast, except it's in resin, not metal. So, like, have fun dealing with that in metal. Like, good luck, you know? The only difference is that you need to spend a bit of time with, like, Milliput trying to get all the stuff like that. What camera lens? I'm not even... Okay, so I'm using a webcam right now. This is the Logitech Brio. It's about $200, I think. It's BRIO. Yeah, this is a webcam. I'm upgrading soon to a camera. That's above my pay grade. No thanks. My uncle has a lot of old fantasy tin. I mean, I've got old LED minis, like from Rogue Trader, but I don't really know exactly what each one is made of. Honestly. Working with metal is not fun. Right now, between the anvil, I'm trying to do Khazad Guard. So, like, I'm smoothing out everything the best I can. I'm trying to get all of the problems. Yeah. Was working on some Rogue Trader plant life today. Dude, your stream inspired me to get the Brio, so I thank you, buddy. I had seen your stream a few times with your wife, and I'm like, damn, you guys have good cameras. And I was looking around, I'm like, what the hell are they using? And they had Brios. Yeah. So thanks, buddy. Yeah, Rogue Trader stuff is cool, though. It's very funky. I have a lot of the squats, like the exosuit squats that look like eggs. It's just, it's disgusting to work with. Like, I don't even want to touch it because it's lead. And, like, if you're scraping a bunch of stuff, it's so bad. Working with metal is not fun. Now that goes straight into the book. It's just not, though. Like, no one's going to sit here and say, man, I love scraping this. Like, it's really not enjoyable at all. The biggest thing about cleaning this up is that you feel a sense of satisfaction because it's so ridiculous to, like, make work. I didn't connect the name with your main channel. Yeah, this is just my Warhammer channel because I've always done Warhammer. It's just I haven't really been able to stream it or even do it in my pastime for like 4 to 5 years now. I'm gonna go to Stray Kids on. Good luck, dude. I haven't played TF enough, but I'm sure he's fine. Like, the new items are good on TF. This is the Anvil, yeah. This is the Anvil of Doom, but I'm probably going to be converting it a little bit. Because the big thing about Old World is that they're trying to sell you the previous miniatures that were out. And when it comes to the Anvil, it comes with a named character, Thoric Ironbrow. And even though Thoric Ironbrow is most definitely alive during this setting, I don't want to have, like, a bunch of different units from different holds kind of coming together. I think I want, like, one cohesive force type of deal, so I'm probably not going to use the miniatures that came with this. I'm just going to make my own. It's just a little bit nicer, I think, aesthetically. And then I have to go do my Age of Sigmar stuff, which also has an anvil, so, like, I don't know, man. Too many anvils. Too many anvils, no time. Oh, I've seen the skin for Wild Rift. It's good. Wild Rift gets a lot of exclusive content that PC's never going to get. What hold? I wanted to do Karazakarak, so, like, the Rune Lord of Karazakarak is still Crag the Grim, and Crag the Grim doesn't really show up too often. He's typically just sitting beneath Karazakarak, toiling away. So in that regard, I don't really know what I want to do. Like, do I include Crag the Grim? Do I just throw a bunch of, like, a random Rune Lord with an apprentice at the Forge? So I'm not entirely sure yet how I'm going to tackle that, but all I know is that I want a giant diorama, and that's it. A big diorama for the anvil. A lot of the people I've seen run the anvil, it's a very gamey, like, piece. Nothing, man. We're still chilling here. We're scraping. Very slowly. We're going to be streaming on the other channel about an hour and a half, hour 20. Bro's coming up with a new rune for Groby's Stay Out. I mean, Crag the Grim had rules in, like, 4th edition, and after that he kind of just faded away. I don't think you'd see Crag the Grim anywhere in, like, some little minor scuffle. I don't even think he was included in the end times. It's been so long since I've looked into that, but I don't think he's there. Because if you think Thoric is a fucking boomer, if you think Thoric is stuck in the old ways, you should see Crag the Grim. Like, that guy is... He's like a dried out raisin, if that could even be possible. The Void took my donation. No, I saw it. You're good. We're chilling. Warhammer into League. Into reading. Not a bad day. We're only going to be here for about 1, 2, 3... Fuck, we've only got like 4 more days here. 5 more days, maybe. So we're pretty tight for time. Disloyal, thank you, buddy. I believe it is. It should be, right? I mean, if anything was made, it's probably made by Dwarven hands, right? I do know of that, and there was even an event in GW that they put out for it, which I have the book, but I haven't read anything in so long on the Nemesis Crown. Because I'm pretty sure there was also, like, a legitimate campaign that had come out in a supplement. That's old. All of these forgotten gems from Games Workshop. Worked with contrast. I'd love some tips on not making breaststrokes. I would check YouTube. I'm sure there's like a billion different tutorials on YouTube on how to not have brushstrokes with contrast. Could you thin contrast with like a medium? Oh, gotcha. Okay. I own contrast. I've just never used it, which is a very I collect Warhammer thing to say. Is that even still good? I can't. Is that good? I don't know. I was coerced by a guy who worked there saying it was the next best thing since like pizza, and I've never used it. It's good. I'm just not good. Okay. I've seen a lot of contrast work done, and it's really good. I don't know if it's my preferred paint style, but like people use it in tandem with like generic layering and all that stuff, and it looks pretty good. I don't think I'm a big fan of like um I don't think I'm a big fan of pure contrast, but like I would try to use it on beards and stuff like that just to see what it would look like. Using too little or you aren't mixing it enough with water. People slop that shit on. People literally slop it on. Easiest beard of my... Yeah, I was saying, I've seen a few people do, like, beards with contrast, and it looks pretty good, honestly. Again, I don't know if I could stomach that for, like, the first time around, but... Slap chop. Tyler 1 is AI now. He's streaming like AI. Is he really? He's a VTuber? Oh, he made a tool? That's pretty cool. I mean, he probably had reached out to someone who did that stuff and he worked with them to kind of, like, create it. More so than him doing it himself. Yeah, I've got... I mean, you've already seen the stuff I have on hand that's painted, right? Like, a dwarf warrior from Lord of the Rings. I've painted two things in countless years because I haven't been able to sit down for so long. Like, that's in recent memory, that's it. That's all I've painted. A dwarf warrior and a dwarf warrior. Both of which were just, like, test paints for fun. I don't have time, but I will soon. They turned out nice. Thank you. Yeah, they're all right. I mean, I used to paint more in my youth just because I wouldn't think about it. I'd just do it. So, like, you know, day one, you get like a Space Marine box, you'd slap it together and then paint it the same day. They weren't the best, but like, I didn't have to think back then. And now I'm like, oh man, you got to make the leathers this and that, and the shield has to be this blue, and blah, blah, blah. So, I've got those on the desk. My girlfriend did Night Hunt for a little bit, and then she's like, man, I don't like Warhammer. And I'm like, you're just coping. So this is what she did. Some, like, galaxy purple Night Haunt. Like, she did art for, she does art for a living, I guess, not miniature painting, but, like, this was her stuff. I think there was one more. Yeah. So, yeah. I think she also painted up a unit of, like, 20 basic infantry, and I'm like, if you want to play the game, you got to do 20 more, and she's like, I'm out of the hobby. So, maybe I caused that. Outside of that, having sold all my childhood stuff, the only thing I have left from, like, when I was much younger is this. This was from, I think it was 2006, so I would have been 10 years old when I did these Night Goblins from the Battle for Skull Pass. And this wasn't the first piece of Warhammer I had worked on, but it was one that, at the time, I'd spend hours and hours tweaking things and going back to try and, like, make them better. But, you know, they're good for what they are. So it's good to kind of have things from, like, your youth, you know? I wish I had more of it, because I had Lord of the Rings, I had 40K, I had Warhammer Fantasy. A lot of it was kind of painted, and some of it wasn't, but yeah, when you're younger, you do more things, I find. You don't think as much. Now I'm stuck here 3 years at a mold line on a piece of scenery, essentially. Why don't you build and paint the dwarves together? Well, because I want to paint everything at once. Like, I'm okay with building my 2,000-point army and then puttying my 2,000-point army and then painting the 2,000-point army all in phases. That's what I'm doing right now. Oh, that's if she wants to do it. Right now, I don't think she does. Yeah, greenskins were one of my favorite armies growing up as well. Like, either 40k greenskins or orcs and goblins. Absolutely. It's been a long time. If I want to get into Warhammer, how should I start? Well, I'd say start with a bit of research off of, Well, let me ask you this then. What do you like more? Futuristic? Fantasy? You like the good guys? You like the bad guys? You like monsters? Humans? There's a lot of stuff in Warhammer. It's just kind of finding what calls to you. Historical stuff. Okay, so you're going to go Warhammer Fantasy. I say historical, but, like, that's probably the closest thing. Well, because I'm working with resin. I don't want resin on me. My lungs. Like, I'll do this without a mask for plastic, which is probably just as bad, but resin I don't trust. More so. If you like historical stuff, try like, I mean, if you like futuristic, go Imperial Guard maybe. If you like, sword and board, go for like the Empire type of deal. That might work better for you. If you like big blocks of infantry kind of like marching up the field with muskets and whatnot, it's not a bad gig. Are there orc technicals? What is it? What does that mean? What does that mean? Am I behind on words? Maybe I am. Trucks with machine guns. I mean, orcs have a billion different vehicles, most of which they've stolen. A technical known as a non-standard tactical vehicle in the United States military parlance is a light improvised fighting vehicle, typically an open-back civilian pickup. They've got everything. Of course, the orcs have everything. All of their trucks, all of their buggies. Yeah. I'm Persian. I want mass army and cataphracts. Warhammer Fantasy and something. Find something in Warhammer Fantasy that suits your needs, and then, you can make them look like whatever you want. I'd still probably go for the Empire, if that's the case, because the Empire has masses of troops, all decked out. Heraldry and different weapons and whatnot, different formations. I'll put this down for now. Forge World actually put out a lot of those orc vehicles as well. They had a ton of them way back when. They had like war tracks and all these different anti-air vehicles and God knows what. Giant tanks with a trillion guns. Humans are the easiest in all settings to start with. Theme? Oh, yeah, for sure. Easily. I mean, they're the most relatable, right? Like, you can't really look at an orc and be like, man, that's relatable. Unless you're, like, British or something. Like, I know what that orc's about. They're the easiest to grasp, right? So, they're cool as well. I mean, if you really think about it, humans in a setting where everything is so, like, chaotic and you've got people the size of trees, with arms as lanky as ever, just smashing aside tons of dudes. Giant infernal war machines that hail like fucking demonic energies out of the skies that you can't do anything about. And you're just a guy praying to your gods with a gun and a halberd. It's like, yeah. That's pretty metal. I would even say that's more metal than chaos, right? Like generic troops of the Empire dealing with shit like that. Another normal Tuesday for Altdorf, or any fucking, like, Men of the Empire in Warhammer Fantasy. It's like you either spawn as someone in the Empire or an elf or a dwarf. Or maybe you're not as lucky and you get like a goblin. Spawn diff. True, that is true. I mean, Chaos Warriors are massive, man. Hulking beasts. They tower over men. And all it really is just chaos energies and God knows what other demonic growths. But they were once a man. Or a woman. Yeah, they're, I don't even know, like 6 to 7. Probably 7 feet, yeah, not 6. Like, they look down on you, right? Well, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to spawn as a Norskin. I'm not going to lie. Being a Chaos Worshipper, your whole life is just trying to appease your gods, right? Or rather, appease them. You're there for the blessings of the ones that you worship. It's like, what kind of life is that? It's a bellows. Yep. Goes on the side of the anvil. Pumps it full of fresh air. Well, some of the gods up in Norska aren't. I mean, I don't even know exactly the lore of them because I'm not too big into Norskin stuff or even like the Chaos gods. But I'm sure they don't only worship like one of the ruinous powers. There's other minor gods and whatnot as well that they probably latch onto. But I mean, it is Warhammer Fantasy, and everyone believes in something because that's just the setting. Kind of, not really. Well, they believe in something. Well, I don't know about trolls, though. Are you talking about the... Well, pretty sure the Empire still dwells on, like, one of the, what are they called? Tall and, fuck, whatever those minor ones are. With nature and all that crap. I don't know my manling lore. Maybe that's more for the men of the Empire, not so much the Norskins. Oh, God. Chaos worship Heshut, god of tyranny. He's a minor chaos god, but dwarves are not really Norskins. Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I'm talking more so, like, whatever the other, where the fuck did the piece go? I was referring to the, oh, God, what are they? I don't know what they're called. The nature, primal, whatever the hell, like, some people around, Middenheim and shit worship. Whatever's going on there. Again, I'm not, like, too current with what Chaos does and who they worship. Yeah. I just figured there might be some sort of, like, worship with that when it comes to Norskins, considering it's all out in the wilderness and whatnot. You know, they probably pray to something. Hello there. Hello, hello. Yeah, the only Norse... I remember because, like... Morn, God of the Dead, Tall... Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. It's kind of hard to remember all these fucking names, and then also the events of Warhammer and the races and what they do. Like, there's just so many of them. And unless you're religiously studying it, you're probably not going to remember. Norskins, yeah. Well, I'm just saying. Again, I don't know my Norskin lore. The only Norskins I remember were the ones that came on from the board edge with Wulfric the Wanderer. Out of, what was it, Seafang? To flank my army. My God, what is wrong with this? I wonder how the metal bit of this looks like. Like, I don't even know how the hell you'd clean this. You can't really see it on camera, but it's pretty bad. It's, like, just chunky and weird. Cleaning metal minis is awful. Oh, yeah, take it easy, man. Peace, peace. I gotta get out of here soon anyways. I'm leaving in, like, 40 minutes or so. 4 Dwarven, 3 to 4 human, couple of Elvish ones, but I won't tell you all. They're probably sitting in the roleplay books. If you want to know any Warhammer fantasy lore past, like, what you could read in a standard rule book, you gotta get the roleplay books. Or Wiki. Wiki's a good one. Valkyria's lore on how she became one of the Khorne sword maidens was pretty good in explaining Norscan culture. That I haven't read because I don't like that bitch. And I don't like her in Total War either. Disgusting character. Didn't she have a book? Pretty sure she had a book. Yeah, Valkyria the Bloody. I guess that's where you'd get that information. I know they had one with like Wolfric, they had Valkia in terms of the chaos stuff. And I mean Wolfric and Valkia are very much um they're not big players, but like, people like them, so they made books about them, I suppose. The more you know, the better, right? Can't go wrong with just reading stuff. What? A small file for this stuff? I think well, for me I've always used the knife, and I think for me the knife is the easiest. Um you could just be a little bit more precise. I feel like with files it can kind of scrape away stuff you don't want gone. I find it to be a little bit abrasive. I guess it depends on which file you use, but I don't think they're as precise, but, whatever works for people is good. All I know is this anvil needs to be finished one day, and the bellows is taking a very long time to do. It's also from the Warhammer wiki. Yeah, the wikis are really good, though, for sure. Because the wikis encompass, like, whatever information's out there. It's not that you have to go into, like, a rule book and then a role play book and then look up an old article in, like, a White Dwarf. Everything typically is there. It's really useful. Because even if it's on the wiki, it's still only like a bit of it. It's not the entire thing. You're not going to get like all the conversations and everything. It's more of the TLDR. The Golden Throne. Well, that's like what, 40K? Like the Emperor and the Golden Throne? Give me 1 second. Hang on, I'll be right back. Be right back. All right. Song is God, I can't even pronounce that. It's like the home of the dwarves in fucking wherever they're from. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce that. Nidvalier or something. It's on Scalmold's. I can't even pronounce that album. 2016 album. Jesus, this shit's killing my head. Fuck that. Let me stay away from this and cut it because I can't breathe in that thing. Although, you know what? I think I want to work on a metal mini right now. Let's see, we got 40 more minutes. I think this is decent progress on the anvil. It's not going anywhere anyways. So, put this away. Where is my vacuum? You need a respirator mask. I mean, it's fine. I don't want to spend money on something that isn't Warhammer right now. Anyways. Time to work on Khazad-Guard. Hey, Jimmy, thank you, buddy. Yeah, metal minis are, I wonder how this even happens. How does that happen? What is this from? Like, I know this is clearly the casting process, but, like, what the hell is that? It's Flash, but, like, is it the same thing as casting a metal miniature, essentially? It's like, casting a plastic mini, where it's, like, the excess, like, sprue. It's not Flash. Oh, that's your... I didn't realize that was your wife. Hey, thank you. How lovely. I'll remember it in a second. It's something. I don't know. I keep seeing it everywhere. Worked in the polishing department at GW. Did you really? That's cool. It's a chimney. So is it... Well, I guess you'd know more. I have no idea. Air tube to release air bubbles from the cast form. I got no clue. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Interesting. I feel like, yeah, I mean, when it comes to casting metal minis, or at least seeing them casted, there's nothing missing. It's just there's sometimes, like, more than there should be. In certain areas, I guess for the sake of the sculpt being completed, as an example. Where was it? There was something here that was pretty egregious. Like, right here. I'd cut it out now, but, like, there was a giant chunk of, like, thick metal sitting from, like, the shaft into the chainmail. And, I mean, first glance, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But most metal minis don't come incomplete. Like, the castings are complete. They just need cleanup, I find. called them tags. Yeah, they do look like tags. Or something. I mean, either way, it's going to take a long time to get through these. And I haven't built metal minis since, like, the age of blister packs. Worked in GW injection molding and tooling, so got to see all of it. Resin casting, metal cast. Oh, that's cool. When was this? Like, when did you work there? (2017 to 2022). That's cool. That is, where was that? Like, surely that's not at, what, like Nottingham? Unless it's somewhere else. I don't recommend it. Yeah, I don't think I'll be in there anytime soon, but, you know, Nottingham? Oh, okay. I was, you know, it's interesting. Let me ask you this then. So when it comes to resin, Warhammer World, yeah, I want to go to Warhammer World. I collect Bugman's Bar merchandise. Some of it's here. You can kind of see all the mugs. There's like 5 more mugs up there. I've never been. I've had this weird fixation on like Bugman's Bar and Dwarves for a very long time, so I've tried to like scrounge up as much as I could. But when it comes to resin, did you know if GW had used different resins over the years, like from your time working there? Because I had seen something recently, and I'm trying to figure out if it's like a recast, so the resin was a different color by chance. They just released a limited edition Warpstone-infused ale at Bugman's. Really? Like a drink? I don't think I can get them to send me any drinks. Unfortunately. It's green. That's interesting. I mean, I'd like to go there one day. It's on the bucket list, right? I'd love to go. They have at this point used a bunch. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, how does resin typically... If a resin is yellowed, is that because it's been sitting in the sun? Potentially? Or is that also just maybe the resin being a thing? Recasts tend to be much harder resin that's lighter. UV... Gotcha. I don't. So I was looking... So there's one piece from Warhammer World that I'm... It was from Forge World. It was like a long time ago. I think it was like early 2000s. They made a bunch of statues and busts, a larger scale. And recently one of them had come up on the secondary market. And it's essentially Gotrek Gurnison with a chopped off dragon head. And it didn't have the dragon head portion, so I was kind of skeptic. Or I was skeptical as to like if I wanted it or not. And all of the other resins were, they looked like legitimate Forge World, and then I had seen this one and it was yellowed. So some old resin will age yellow. Gotcha. So it was most likely real then. Okay. I try not to get recasts if I can. I don't think I even own one. But like with a lot of the older stuff, you can't really tell. Or at least from like the untrained eye, you wouldn't be able to tell. What are we doing? We are making dwarves. Slowly. Very, very slowly. Sounds like it was sun damage, but yes, some old resin. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, well, it's sold, and I didn't get it, so maybe another time if it does come up again. Early 2000s, like, weird Warhammer busts and whatnot were awesome. All the weird dioramas they did. They had, like, black library things with metal minis and resin bases. Yeah, I mean, I prefer the original if I can, and if presented with a recast, I probably still wouldn't buy it. But for the sake of owning something, you just want it to look cool. But not really my thing. It does suck though that like a lot of the cool stuff that was once casted would never be back, Not only was it like limited for the time that it was out, but now it's completely gone. And some of the stuff was amazing too. A lot of the stuff was awesome. And I guess it really begs the question, like, GW loves money. People love spending money at Games Workshop, so why aren't we bringing these things back? The entire old world was based off of, like, a line that had been completed, and they just didn't want to recast it up. And now that they're doing it, everyone's buying it, so... Interesting. I can't see why the Forge World stuff kind of wouldn't come back. Eventually, at least. Too much of a hassle to keep producing? Oh, yeah, for sure. I get that. And I mean, I'm sure the only reason the old world's back is because they had enough money to, like, make more space for casting stuff, maybe. But I think I was in a GW recently, and I was quoted 4 months from now if I wanted to order the new Grombrindle from their store because it had to be made. I'm good. I'm not waiting 4 months. I think I will pass. Some things do take time, but 4 months for that? 4 months is nothing. Man, you can get them retail on eBay right now for the same price. People bought them and they just don't sell. I got myself a Forge World Hive Tyrant from eBay years ago, but it was missing its Biozid cannon. Wrote Forge World with some mails if they'd still do them, and nope, they were destroyed. Molds were destroyed? Really? That's what they're doing? Oops. That's got to be one of the biggest sins ever. Destroying old Forge World stuff. The molds to them. Man, that stuff was awesome. Did they just not think they were going to sell them again, so they kind of just destroyed them? There were some incidents, a lot of the molds were lost over time? Gotcha. That sucks. I mean, I have one of the fabled, like, unreleased Dwarfs sprues back there, where the mold was supposedly dropped and destroyed. So many horror stories. Why, Games Workshop? Why are you destroying all of this good stuff? Cast it again. Sell it for retail. I figured it was just Games Workshop not wanting to sell stuff. Or, again, it was a hassle. Because those sculpts are iconic. Like, older Forge World monsters and some of the 40K stuff, like, it's amazing. Super good. True. I hope not. That'd be smelly. Hey, thank you, buddy. Have a good night, man. I was going to head over to the other channel in about 20 minutes. Thank you, buddy. I think the last thing I want is to be in relations with a dwarf. Wait, what? They burned the Horus Heresy books that should have been released during COVID, but couldn't get delivered due to all restrictions. Now these books are 70 to 130 euros. What? Just the round metal and resin casting ones, usually because they were neglected kits and mold anyway. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't work there. I can't say anything, but, you know. There's an audience somewhere for that stuff. You don't want to know how much stock they'd throw away. I think I've seen images of, like, pallets being trashed or, like, left out in the rain. Yeah, it's pretty awful. See, like, what do you even do with that, though? Why can't you just sell it on eBay? What? Like, you're telling me you don't want to flood eBay with that stuff. But then again, I guess it doesn't go to, like, GW stores, so, okay, makes sense. It was easier to just destroy it than it was to sell it? Come on. Yeah, the pallets, the good old Mines of Moria pallets. That's crazy, man. Pretty sure most of it was like, was it not starter set stuff, though? Like things that they would mass produce for the sake of, like, you know, thinking it would sell instead of this, like, weird niche product, like a certain unit or something. Oh, wow. Damn. Well, that sucks. I remember seeing images of it, and it was a very sad sight. But, yeah, I got no idea. Wait, so you said you worked in Nottingham. How does the what's the setup like there? Not saying like in the shops or anything, but how does the if they've got the factories there and you're making stuff, where is the museum and all of the touristy stuff in relation to like where everything is made? Because I've only seen images. I don't think I've never been there. I need to go one day. Oh my god. It's really that bad? Maybe I should put my Khazad guard down. But I just love dwarves. I can't do it. I can't do it. I am a mere consumer, bent on nostalgia. Getting to see heavy metal painted minis in Warhammer World every day. Yeah, it's a cool place to be, man. At least from an outsider who's never been there. Again, I can't say anything about, you know, working there and whatnot, but I've always wanted to go. If there's any reason to go to the UK, it's to go to the Warhammer World, and then it's to fly right back home. That's it. That's all I want to do. I gotta drag my girlfriend along. Maybe I'll reignite her Warhammer passion. It's a fun pilgrimage. Yeah, I heard it was it's like an hour or two from like the closest airport or something. I just want the exclusive merchandise, and I want to go see the museum, and then, you know, go to Bugman's Bar, and maybe try to sneak out a menu or two. She collected, so she, I like the grungy, dirty little hairy men that live in holes and don't shower, and she likes the, you know, well, elves, night haunt, ghosts and ghouls, stuff like that. So we kind of have our own little different collections, but right now I'm trying to coerce her into getting into like Old World with the Wood Elves, because she was fond of the what were they? What are the elves that live at the bottom of the sea? She likes those. I like both the ugly and the pretty. Oh, yeah. I mean, Warhammer's awesome. It's just, over time, I've kind of drifted back to, like, certain things. The Deepkin, yeah. She liked the Deepkin because the turtles and the sharks and whatnot, which are cool. You know, that's awesome. But for her right now, if she was to get back into this, it'd be more of like a painting thing, like a pastime for fun instead of playing the game. Whereas I'm more so of everything. I like the hobby. I like the games. I like the lore. So, you know, there's something for everybody, and I'm sure if Warhammer was more accessible, more people would play it. But this is certainly not the most accessible thing to do as a pastime. Murder turtles. Yeah. That thing is huge. That's a big mini. Thing's massive. I kind of gave up on Age of Sigmar for a little bit through, like, I think it was the last Cities of Sigmar book. Was it 3rd edition or something that they came out with a new book? And they kind of, like, killed off a bit of my rules that I like, so I haven't really been into the hobby too much for the AOS stuff, but 4th edition looks promising. Maybe I'll play AOS again. Maybe she will. You know, she's not too big on, like, reading rules, so Age of Sigmar is great for that. Until they swarm over you and eat you alive, then they're scary. Yeah. They're cool to look at, though. I like the painting side. Gaming is harder because the painting takes forever. Exactly. You know, the interesting thing is that when I was growing up, I'd always paint to play and not paint for myself. And so whenever I was building like an army or getting into a new, you know, box of guys, I'd just hastily go through it. And now that I'm older and I want to be more like methodical and think about what I'm painting and create like cool dioramas and whatnot, it does take me 3 times as long. So, you know, there are things that you want to put on a shelf and have it look cool, and then there's other stuff that you might want to throw on a table and not put as much work into it. But either way, you know, you can spend hours doing this stuff, and it's great. As long as the thing doesn't get too, what's the word? Too tedious. Disloyal yo, buddy. Hello, sir. Man, how would you even get this off? How do you even deal with, like, raised... I don't even know what to call this. It's like a reversed mold line. Oh, you know what? Never mind, we're good. Use your teeth like a beaver. Well, considering I am Canadian, I could do that. You know, why not also just bite down on some resin? That would taste good, no? A little bit of a snack. Yeah, these, The Forge. Oh, yeah, I've got another, I've collected Dwarfs for so long. I've had stuff like... Hang on, let me go get it, if I can remember where it is. I'm too lazy to paint. Honestly, man, paint 1 mini. You know, people look at painting and they're like, this is the most daunting, horrific thing I've ever done. And then they try to paint like 20 minis at once and it's their first time. Like, you know, start small. I don't paint much just because I don't have much time. And right now I'm gearing up for an army. But like, over the past few years, I've just painted 1 mini, 1 mini, 1 mini, you know. It's not that bad. And then eventually you work up to like an army and whatnot. Takes a bit of time, but it's better than doing nothing. Hey, you all right? Do you feel better? Just weird? So, Thoric Ironbrow. I do also have the metal one. Unopened. I think even through this seal, it has plastic on it. Let's take a look. This is when they came in, like, foam trays. This is a relic from the ancestor gods of old. Anything this ancient in, like, its original box, I will never open. Yeah, there you go. It's a sealed anvil. And it's in metal. Like, I really don't want to work with this thing in metal. I've built a few fine cast ones. Originally, it was built in metal, but, you know. Yeah, that's nice. Man, this was like when everything was metal, though. The Thunderers came in, like, blister packs. I think the Dwarf Warriors, same deal. Yeah. That's what it was, though. Everything was metal or lead or whatever, you know? Metal units are such a treat to paint. They've got their charm. I like original boxes like this in blister packs. Yeah, I've got some. I have a few sealed things, and for the stuff I don't have sealed, I keep every box, so, like, I'm pretty sure I've got every single Dwarven release ever. Since starting, which is, like, 7th edition. This was before 7th edition, so that was picked up after, but... I hoard boxes. I'm a weirdo. They look nice on the wall, you know? It's also like a bit of nostalgia, I suppose, because if you used to walk into a Games Workshop, you'd see blister packs lining the wall, ones full of like metal minis and whatnot, whereas now you don't get that. Which is sad, but that's what it is. The old artwork boxes were amazing. Yeah. Yeah. One of the ones I remember very fondly was the Hellhound. My buddy had bought me a Hellhound for my birthday, and at the time it had come with like metal bits for the tanks on the back of the tank. But you can't get like, dude. Just the artwork of the man, it's just good memories. I can't look at a GW box now and be like, that's great, I want to buy that. Like, give me the artwork. You know, show me some like hand-drawn awesome works of art on the front that like inspire you to build an army and to just be immersed in the universe. The bold red colors. You're before my time. That's even before me. We have a collection of boxes, and they do look nice, but these days boxes are not as nice as back. Exactly. Like, since the only thing I have on hand right now, like, you know, it shows off the miniature. It's in like its own little world. It's there. It's living in miniature form. Or you've got like dwarves living in the world of Warhammer. It's not the miniatures, it's them. So like stuff like this, oh, it's so good. It's so good. You know, walking into a Games Workshop and just seeing art everywhere, and the only time you'd see the miniature was flipping it over. Which, to be fair, when it comes to like buying minis, you'd probably want to see what you're getting. I understand that. So, the old orc boxes. The first one I started with, because I loved the orcs growing up. I don't know what edition it was, but I think it's like there's two orcs running, and it's like a dark background, and it's raining. I think it was... What edition is that? The canopies on the squat rover was the last thing I polished. The last thing you polished? Like, you worked on those when you were in the factory? I'm trying to find the old edition of, was it 4th edition? 5th edition? No, that's way too old. Is there not a website where you can just kind of see all of the artworks over the years? Like, that'd be nice. I was crying into that tool. Mirror polishing is so you see through my left hand because polishing had destroyed my right hand, and they gave me that for something to do. Minimum wage sweat and tears went into those canopies. I'm sorry to say it, but the ones in my collection haven't left the box. So all of those blood, sweat, and tears, they have not been... They haven't been used yet. They will one day. That's cool, though. I mean, that's an interesting story. You know, not everyone says they've worked at Games Workshop, right? Like, polishing canopies for Space Dwarves. You know, it's a pretty big conversation starter. It was this box. I don't know what edition this was, but this is when I started 40K. I love this. Like, that's just so good. And then the one that came after this as well was amazing. Be it some of the boxes did actually have miniatures on the front, but, you know. Cool stuff. Gorka Morka. They gave you the they sold you the Gorka Morka stuff in these boxes. Yeah. Very cool though. I've never played Gorka Morka, but I've had like whatever they were selling in GW at the time for the Orc Army, some of it again came from Gorka Morka, so I've owned it, but I never played the game. Old but gold. Yep. It's the nostalgia, man. Good times. Good memories. If you can somehow have those boxes and whatnot on hand to look at every once in a while, it's great. And I mean, even some people still play Gorka Morka today, I'm sure. You know, there's some club out there that's like a bunch of old British chaps, and they're all playing Gorka Morka. Wonder if they'd ever do that again, though. I guess you never know with GW. They'll reprint something if they're desperate for cash. I mean, is that why the old world's a thing? Because that's a lot of reprinting, I'll tell you that. But it's a good reprinting. It's my childhood coming back to me. I use the same sanding strips. Yeah, these are... I mean, I get them off Amazon, you know? They're not bad. A little expensive, but, like, they get the job done. I've tried using sandpaper, and I feel like the sponges are better for metal minis because the sandpaper just gets eaten up in 2 seconds. But that's just my experience, I suppose. Like, plastic is just so much easier to work with. Even resin. Like, the softer fine cast stuff isn't too bad. It's just you have to fill in all the holes and bubbles and whatnot. But metal minis are absolutely not, like, beginner-friendly, I suppose. They don't offer as much in the way of, like, converting or easy cleanup. You have to work at them a lot more. Yeah, I mean, the price hikes are interesting. I think they're trying to sell, like, what? The most egregious thing I've seen from GW, and, I mean, prices are prices. Are the old big uns. I think they're trying to sell like 4 big uns or something for like $80. It's like, what? What? If you're someone who grew up in the 50s and loved the old big uns, there you go. Enjoy the big uns. I don't think they do, no. I've been pretty all right with it. You do kind of clean them like plastic, though. It's just instead of plastic, you're dealing with little flakes of pewter. But there is, again, some weird sense of accomplishment when you're working with metal. It's not so simple, and you feel like you're, I guess, rewarded with a bit more for all the work you're doing. Like, that's certainly a subjective thing, but that's how I feel. I would love to see Man of War. I would love for them to reprint Man of War stuff somehow. Those molds are probably long, crusty, and dead. But if they could do that, that'd be awesome. Do you need to hit a sub count threshold for adding emotes? Yeah, you do always. There's well, I mean, right now on this channel, I think I even have emote slots that I haven't filled yet, but you typically do. And I mean, the thing is with emotes, people tend to use like the emotes from better Twitch TV and stuff like that sometimes over your own emotes. So is it even worth it half the time, you know? Along with the epic ones. There were definitely Man of War molds rusting away in the storeroom on a shelf. What about War Master? You got War Master ones? I got some War Master. Save War Master. I gotta build these up one day. Dwarven Rangers, £5. Save War Master. What's the new Warhammer content? They just released Old World. Does that seem legit? Oh, yeah. It's just... War Master's gone! No! Unlucky. Not War Master. So the old world is essentially Warhammer Fantasy, like 200 years prior. And they're bringing back all the old sculpts from Fantasy. So it's a great thing. As someone who grew up with Warhammer Fantasy, I love it. They would have all been the old metal molds. Epic was mostly plastic, so the molds are steel, not vulcanized rubber, which decays. Gotcha. Yeah, you know more about this stuff than I do, and you work there, so that's even better, man. That's awesome. So what you're saying is, I'm sitting on an out-of-production, never-to-be-reprinted gold mine of old War Master dwarves that clearly everyone and their mothers needs? It's not an alternate timeline. It's like a prequel to Fantasy. The world still ends, and the end times is canon. It's a prequel. I'm going to be gone for months because of military, and we'll have to cancel my subscription. What should I do? Save your money, man. That's all good. No one's holding you at gunpoint, and if you've got life, take care of that first before you give anyone else anything. You know? Listen, any money on this channel goes into this stuff. This is the Hobby Fun channel and the Hobby Chill Out channel. Brother Fate is so wise and understanding, so I'm going to keep it renewed. If you do that, man, I do appreciate it. It does help. But, you know, if for whatever reason people don't resub, like, that's your choice, man. Your money, your life. Do what you want. I can swear that I heard an alternate timeline now. If they're a prequel, that means War of the Beard timeline. Well, that's still canon, but it's well past the War of the Beard. The War of the Beard's like, what, thousands of years in the past? Like, the magic in the world is most definitely gone by this time. Which means no Rune Guardians, no Rune Golems, nothing like that. So, unfortunately not. I don't think that's going to be a thing. There were supposed leaks for dwarves where we're supposed to be getting Dwarven Spearmen. We're supposed to be getting Dwarven Royal Guard, which is weird to me because we've got hammerers, so I don't know what that means. The number one thing dwarves need is exotic units. Like, yeah, the Rune Golem Guardian things, those would be amazing. You really just want more than just infantry and war machines, right? You want some sort of monster. You want some sort of, like, mechanical beast. A big contraption that can be, like, you know, rode off into battle with. That's what I want. Because at the core of every Dwarven army is bodies and machines. So, like, let's get more of other stuff. How long would it take to read all of the Warhammer content ever written? Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. Because you're also talking about the role-play books, the magazines. Yeah, good luck, buddy. How could they make something more awesome than hammerers and ironbreakers? More Anvil of Doom. Literally just more, yeah, more exotic. Give us, like, exotic stuff that the dwarves are known for, but it just doesn't show up, right? That's the cool thing about dwarves. They've got their rune magic, they've got their engineering guilds that, like, create God knows what, but never gets approved to the point where we see it. Like, extremely inventive and can always be making something new, but for the sake of, like, rules and then tradition, you typically don't see it. It's like the lore itself prohibits that stuff from, like, being out in the open. And then also, Games Workshop says, well, we got to make rules for something. I mean, you want an easy one? Bring out a Thunder Barge. At least that thing had rules. It just never had a miniature. Certain things, I guess you could call it creative freedom. Creative liberties were definitely made in artworks. So one of them in, like, the Orcs and Goblins Codex or Army Book was this giant stone barge. Looked like a longboat. And it was being powered by rune magic, and it was floating around with, like, cannons and shit flying off the side of it. Where is that thing? You know? In another artwork against, like, greenskins, I think it was goblins, you had these giant golem, like, tanks that would roll up, and they had giant hammers for hands, and, you know, out of the mouth presumably would be like a flame cannon. Where are those? They've got trains and lore. They've got locomotive, you know, big steam engines and whatnot. Big drills. But for the sake of gameplay, you don't see it. That's what Dwarven players want. We want the machinery. We want, like, the Engineers Guild to just pop off and give us, like, tons of different units to play. That would be awesome. How about Malachi's, like, rocket launcher minigun shit that he gets in the books, you know? Stuff like that. Where's that? Like, so many cool things. What are your thoughts about Warhammer Vermintide 2? It's all right. A little bit repetitive for my like, but... Or my tastes, sorry. I think the issue with those games in general is it's a little bit too repetitive. When the new AOS edition releases, I'm really tempted to get myself some vampires in that new Spearhead box or whatever it's called. Saw some Blood Knights in action against Nurgle. Yeah, I mean, whatever looks good, man, honestly. I think ideally it's more so an aesthetic choice, and then if you end up liking the gameplay, that's a big bonus. I think either way, it will come to you one day. And Warhammer is fun. It just takes a long time, you know? It's a long, tedious road to get stuff done. But when you do get it done, it's great. Yeah. I saw my vampire account stuff after Fantasy got canceled and never wanted to paint skeletons or zombies again. I understand. Hey, with the new contrast paints, like, zombies are probably super easy to paint. Super, super easy. Same thing with skeletons. But, you know, start small. Don't go overboard and work your way up. I think the biggest thing for this hobby is having a plan if you're going to get back into it, or at least start it, because it can be very daunting with how much stuff there is. You know, nothing wrong with starting small and then working your way up. Captain, you look good. I could look better. I'm a little bit obese, but you know. We've all got our problems. Thank you, buddy. I'm a little bit obese. You could be bald, like, well, things happen, man. As long as you're happy, who cares what you look like? You know, my woman might not want me bald, but I could live with it if I was bald. I enjoyed your games with SRO. He's a pretty good top laner. He's all right. He's okay. He's good. He's a good top laner. When you need a role to be filled out, you got SRO top. Did you write the Secret Labs ad in your description? Yes, I did. Of course I did. It's literally taken from the speech in Total War, where Thorgrim is going through, like, Hellfen, you know, yelling out the various problems with the undead, and I just kind of swapped it up with, like, Secret Labs advertising. A great wrong has befallen our kin. Innocent clans dwarves on a trade mission have been butchered by the Uskala. Yeah, what a great line. Butchered by the Uskalar. How did the Skaven appear? And there's this, it was this old, like, tale they said where a guy, something about a town building, like, this bell, and a hooded figure came out and said, "We'll build the bell for you." Something like that. It was an old, weird little, like, short story involving humans, dwarves, and the supposed birth of the Skaven or something. The first appearance of them. Something like that. Because I have no idea. I do have a Skaven lore book, actually. It was one of the older, like, Black Library fun little bits of flavor, I guess you could say. It was, like, written from the perspective of a guy in the Empire. And it's supposed to go over the entire race of the Skaven. I have indeed not read it. I remember getting it on sale for like $20, and now the book's over $100 on eBay, so I'd say pretty good deal. Not a bad deal. I mean, I don't really. You know what? This is what I'm going to tell you. If you hate the end times and you dislike Age of Sigmar, but you like dwarves specifically, it needs to be dwarves because I've read nothing else. Give the Gotrek books a listen or a read. It's the audio drama Realm Slayer. If you've listened to that and you like dwarves, you'll come around to the end times. As much as I don't want the old world to die, it's been dead for so long, and people need to accept it. And Age of Sigmar is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. They're fun. Yeah, they're very, very fun. It's essentially Gotrek's birth into, like, Age of Sigmar. And he's always in, he's always, like, either reminiscing or comparing things from, like, the old world to now. It's just good. It's really, really good. And also him being Gotrek, you know, but a little bit more lively, because it is, I guess, an audio drama. It's great. Evil Within? I know of it, but I haven't played it, no. Also, I think I should have ended this stream a little while ago because it is past what I wanted to stream for. Yeah, I've seen it. I've watched a lot of the game on YouTube. I prefer to watch games, not play them these days. Considering I don't want to spend $60 on a game that I'll play once and never pick up again. Well, I can go for like 20 more minutes or so. I mean, scraping one metal mini completely clean takes a very long time. And I don't know if anyone here works on metal minis, but I'd like to know your process if you do. Because for me, it's a blade and anywhere from like 800 to 1,000 grit sandpaper, and then a file periodically. I was able to paint some Sanguinary Guard in this stream. Great success. Yeah, I'm here scraping a single miniature and people are done painting armies. Yeah. That is a great success. Have you checked out the fully narrated animated version of The End Times by Wizards and Warriors? That's on YouTube, right? I may have come across it, but I don't think I've watched all of it. See, the big thing is that Warhammer needs more of that. Warhammer traditionally was always in books or magazines. And with today's generation of I need to be on my PC 24/7, you want stuff like that. Because you don't want that lore to just die out and be forgotten. And so for things that are more palatable and also just entertaining to watch, it's awesome. There's a secret website where you can get them for free. Ooh. Free. Yeah, if it's old, it's probably somewhere on the internet for free. Hell, even if it's new. Yeah, I've played a lot of Total War. I've played thousands of hours of Total War. Because that's the only thing that kept fantasy alive while it was long dead. €20 book with 400 pages in like 6 to 8 hours. It's really good author depending if the book's good. I mean, how is that a problem? You're complaining about how fast you can read a book? I just checked, and it's true. They added a new alternate timeline in which the end times were defeated. Is that really what the old world is? I thought it was a couple hundred years ago. Do you want to post that little, where you read that? Like, post the actual text in chat? Wait, the old world isn't canon? It's an alternate timeline? No, but okay, that's cool, I guess. Yeah, I've played a lot of the new DLC. Malachi is, well, I'm a multiplayer guy, so I didn't mess with campaign, but the Thunderbarge is really cheesy. Malachi's fun. The Doomseekers with Garagrim are awesome. Post a little bit of it. Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, yeah. I don't think currently there's anything in a GW store that I'd read, maybe outside of like an Age of Sigmar novel, but there's no shortage of books, I'll tell you that. Cow, peace, buddy. There are so many Warhammer books, and that's not even like recent ones either. They've just been going on forever. And people love them, and I can't blame people for loving them because it's Warhammer. Archaon leads a massive invasion, later known as the Storm of Chaos. Talaeans and Imperial... Well, the Storm of Chaos was retconned. Interesting. Where was that from? Is this from like a wiki, or is this from like the new GW article that they did on the old world? Yeah, this was the Storm of Chaos. This was the initial end times that was retconned. I believe. Which I've actually got that book. It's a cool book. You can read it, and you can look at the pictures, and you can be like, wow, that's a cool Slayer army. Yeah, they're very powerful. I mean, in Total War, you can just shoot them with a cannon and they'll die. Like, a bunch of stinky dwarves will just take them out. I just got my sausage casserole and some dark beer for dinner. Yum. I don't think I've ever heard of a sausage casserole. I'm sure it's good, though. Bro is eating like a dwarf. Currently reading Gotrek and Felix books 2. Oh, book 2, and never really knew just about how amazing the Skaven are. Yeah, the whole book 2 is just complete Skaven nonsense. There's just... It's a circus. It's an absolute circus. It's a very condensed novel. Like, they don't travel far. I mean, the whole entire book's basically just in Nuln. It's very goofy. Like, I don't know if you've made it to the part where, like, they enter the Garden of Moor, but it's pretty funny what they do to Gotrek. Like, it's a goofy book. Probably the goofiest of, like, the bunch. The Skaven are just absolute losers. Is this a GW kit? Yeah, this is Khazad Guard. They're just in metal. So this is a metal mini. Sausage filled with herbs, sweet potato, carrots, celery. That's pretty good. Okay, that's good. Probably a European thing, though. Love dwarves in any faction or fiction. Warhammer, WoW, Lord of the Rings, Age of Wonders, Dragon Age. I haven't really messed with, like, Dragon Age, Age of Wonder. I know WoW and Lord of the Rings and Warhammer, but... Which is the best version of dwarves? Fantasy. Warhammer. In what setting do they have tanks and rifles? And rune magic? Warhammer Fantasy. Like, you gotta give it to the Lord of the Rings. It's just where they all came from. Dragon Age dwarves are cool. I don't think I've looked into them. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Lord of the Rings, period, there's always a sense of... Like, you just owe it to Tolkien and what he did, essentially, with the fantasy races, because, like, he spun them into what they are now. Without Lord of the Rings, without him, you would never have Warhammer Fantasy. Lord of the Rings dwarves have a big fuck-off forge with 2 massive hammers. What is that from? They weren't? Yeah, so Warhammer Fantasy is like... Put it this way. Warhammer Fantasy, well, not in terms of, like, quality, let's say, but... Actually, you know what? You could use this. Age of Sigmar is the sequel trilogy. Warhammer Fantasy is the original trilogy. And Warhammer the Old World is the prequels. So, like, they're all connected. It's just they're all different points of time. Or in time. Like, the Age of Sigmar spawned from the death of fantasy. And the Old World is just like the prequel to Warhammer Fantasy. So. Things will look similar. Just because they came from one another, but they're not necessarily the same thing. Okay, I got to get out of here in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to try and finish up as much as I can on this Khazad Guard, and then I got to go. We're going to be streaming on the main channel. I need to play some Bank Plank. Some bank plank. You really would love the Dragon Age lore in the Dwarves, man. They give the Tolkien treatment of the elves of Silmarillion. The mystery, the reason of their fall, they actually have rune golems. Honestly, I probably should. I think the reason I'm so bent on Warhammer compared to other things is that I know Warhammer decently well. And in my mind, I'm just like, who can top this? And I'm not even looking into other things enough to be like, okay, maybe that could contend, you know? Maybe I'll give it a read. I mean, there's literally a wiki or YouTube videos for everything, so I think I'll do that. Yeah, fair enough. I'm a very dismissive person sometimes with what I love. I'm like, how the hell can you top this? How can you top the Anvil? How can you top Warhammer Fantasy? I probably should look into things that I don't know much about. That is true, except every version of something lives on in its own universe, and there's no real, like, you know, if you read, like, I guess, Dragon Age, and then you read Warhammer Fantasy, those two things will never be the same. In the sense that, like, one lives in the fantasy universe, the other one lives in, like, the Dragon Age universe, you know what I mean? It's not, like, an expanded history, it's its own history. So, like, for me, it would kind of, unfortunately, be this competition. But for the sake of just knowing more cool things, that's awesome. I don't see anything wrong in that. Or, you know, you may say, like, oh, I wish Warhammer Fantasy had this. I wish Dragon Age had this. You know? So. What is so special about the anvil? Is it the oldest? So the anvils are essentially like old heirlooms created eons past that, like, people who work the runes and whatnot can harness and kind of, like, expel magic through. They're not made anymore. There's very few of them. And when situations are quite dire, they bring them out to battle. And they'll typically have, like, a rune lord, you know, someone who's clearly very experienced and tested and knows what he's doing. He'll sit up there and kind of, like, essentially break runes in a very specific way that unleash magic. And then that magic gets manifested out onto the battlefield. So, weapons of war. Ones that you'll typically not see often. There's only a handful of them left. Or rather, were even created. But it's just another tool in the arsenal of many with the dwarves. It's the dwarven magic, because dwarves innately can't use magic. And so, for them to harness it, they have to bind it to runes. And with the runes, they can do anything they want. They can hammer it into, like, banners and armor and weapons. You know, they can inscribe it wherever, and then with the magic inside of it, it kind of, like, buffs it up, you know? Warhammer excels more in military plots, Legendarium, etc. Dragon Age is more society, culture, personal mystery, and discovery. That's cool. Yeah. There is some of that stuff, though, in Warhammer, for sure. You know, I guess Warhammer at its core is just this giant, endless conflict, right? There's not much time for peace. Or rather, you know, not too many talks about what goes on behind closed doors in a hold, right, with families and whatnot. But that's cool. Yeah, I guess that is another aspect of dwarves that, like, not many people really dig into, even though it's a big part of their existence. That is cool. And again, it's probably like, man, I wish this was in Warhammer. Or I wish this was in Dragon Age. Like a lot of different ideas floating around for different things that make up whatever race they are. Should be wearing glasses for this. Good God. I guess better late than never. Better late than never. Oh, yeah. Well, dwarves get hard for, like, anything of their past, right? Because they're always reminiscing of, like, what came before them. You know, the ancestors did it better. Our forefathers did it better. Everything the dwarves have these days are adopted from that. You know, they really revere the past and kind of good craft and just exceptionally made things, right? Which, if the ancestors did it, we do it. So anything old, anything related to, like, you know, their gods or their past, they love. It's actively hunted down by, like, Thoric Ironbrow. He goes out and tries to, like, recover artifacts to help the dwarves. They go after their lost holds, you know, reclaiming old hammers and weapons, heirlooms. Anything that can tie them to what came before them is what they love. Because in a way, that was their peak. Like, dwarves have only gone downhill since I guess you could say, like, the War of Vengeance, and then the what was it, the Great Cataclysm or some shit, where the mountain shook and the Greenskins came and Skaven came and started eating up all the holds and whatnot. So they've only just been in a great decline since. Nothing has gotten good for the dwarves. All of that precious lost technology and weapons and runes and whatnot. You know, for all they know, their salvation in the old world lies in some lost, you know, hold that has rooms full of these artifacts, right? So they need them. Where the beer was interesting, literally the first time that the dwarves wanted to actually forgive a grudge, almost. Well, times were different. The dwarves and elves actually did work with each other, and things were great. Well, the reason both races were on a massive decline was specifically because of Malekith, right? So Malekith breaking his oath with Snorri and essentially igniting the war that would destroy both races, followed by what was it? What was the actual event? I think it was with like something to do with the Slan and the vortex, and then that caused a bunch of mountains and whatnot, like the old world, not the old world, the World's Edge mountains to like kind of shake and rumble, and then all the dwarf holds would collapse, and from that came the greenskins and the Skaven and whatnot, and then they started attacking the dwarves. So it's not a good time. How much of a boast is it to say, yeah, I'm an anvil guard? I mean, your life is on the line for that thing, right? Like, you will die defending it. Dwarves don't want to lose anything, trust me. Any sort of precious, like, rune or axe, bit of armor, an anvil, like, you don't lose these things. The creating of the vortex and the winds of magic, yeah. It just got worse and worse, and more dwarf holds fell. More things came up from the south and just started to take them all out, occupy them. So there is very specific names for these events. Like, the dwarves had gone through the Silver Age, the Golden Age, the Time of Woes. Everything is recorded, like exactly what events had happened, but, bro, I can't remember all of them exactly. I think right now we're at, what, the Age of Reckoning, with Thorgrim kind of going out and like, let's retake the realms. Just kidding, the end times killed us all. The Age of the Ancestor Gods. 10,000 Chaos Dwarves versus 1 Thorgrim. Who wins? What? I'm just glad, however awesome every single elf fantasy are. Dwarves beat them in the main ones, even if the elves seem unbeatable at first. You talking about just elves in fantasy settings in general? Because I don't know much about the elves in terms of different fantasy settings. I've seen Lord of the Rings. Legolas is cool. That's what I can say. What the fuck is that? I just noticed they... Oh, never mind. It's a blade. I thought it was Flash. I was looking at this piece and I'm like, what the fuck? Hate to be that guy, but I have a recollection of saying you had to finish in 10 minutes. Yeah, you're right. I know. I should have left, and then I got consumed with scraping metal lines. So now we're going to leave in 5 minutes. Well, I've been very off and on both channels right now because I'm kind of in the middle of, like, a semi-move. So when I stream, I'm streaming sporadically, and there's, like, there's nothing that, like, signals that I'm streaming. Like, I don't think I've even streamed 5 times in the last 2 weeks. At least on both channels. Like, come July is when I'll be able to actually stream properly. Thoughts on purple dwarves? That would look good. Purple and gold would look very regal. Look very fancy. Yeah. Life is sometimes really shitty. You just kind of, like, work through it. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And, you just... life goes on, you know? You just gotta be prepared for everything, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Sometimes things just turn upside down in a heartbeat, and you're like, damn, that sucked, but it is what it is. But right now, we are in the middle of getting stuff out of an apartment. So I will be free in, like, July. July is the freedom time. Yeah. Well, I live here. This is my address, but we spend time at a family place to see my girlfriend's family. So, like, this is a very dusty hobby room that needs a bit of a uplift. Yeah, we'll get out of here in about 3 minutes, though. I think I've been scraping the same Kazed guard for, like, an hour. But to be fair, with how long I take to get minis done, a metal mini is kind of quite the task. Back in my day, there was no damn purple dwarves, only hills and mountain dwarves. I cannot wait to get... I cannot wait for my guy to get the Green Knight back in stock. It's a fantastic... People do love that metal mini. Yeah, people said the Green Knight was, like, one of the best minis they've ever done. I've seen a dude who tries to get a mirror polish with his metal minis. Is that on Twitter? Does he make little videos about that on Twitter? Because I've seen a guy who does that, and I'm trying to find who it is. Because I want to see what grit he uses for his sandpaper. Because that's what I'm doing. Not necessarily, like, a mirror finish. Do you know his name? I'm very curious more so of the process he takes. Because Jimmy might know who he is. I've seen him once work on, like, a Chaos Sorcerer, and I'm like, Jesus, this guy's crazy. The Green Knight is, it looks good. It's a really good-looking mini. I don't really like Bretonia, personally, but Right now, the only thing, you want to go to 3,000 grit? Fuck. Hell no. 3,000 grit. Okay, that's a bit too much for me. I was thinking maybe like the lowest. I don't think you went full mirror polish with paste or anything. Wow, so just sanding. Old Demon Prince in 40K. Yeah, the old metal minis are kind of rough to put together if they're multi-parted. You have to kind of pin them and do more to like make sure they're done. I think for me then, if this guy really goes down to 3,000, I don't even use 3,000 on plastics, and plastics are so soft. When it comes to this, the lowest, or sorry, the highest. I keep saying lowest. Highest I've done was probably 1,000, lowest being 8. Like 3,000 is pretty insane. Yeah. Like, all I'm trying to do is clean them up to the point where they don't look like they've just come out of a casting or a mold. And this is more so a bit of nostalgia than anything. I don't plan on, like... Oh, you know what? I mean, I could make a Moria army. I had one way back when, but chances of me playing the Lord of the Rings game right now is pretty slim. I'm more so just interested in seeing these on a shelf with, like, the box behind it. Kaz Edgard. Oh, yeah, baby. That guy right there. I love it. So, that's the goal with this. Penitent Engine was the first and last. Yeah, my horror story with Metal Minis growing up was the Orc Dreadnought. Like, as a child, you don't even know what pinning is, so you're trying to glue arms on, and it's just not working. Yeah, the pains of more things to do on Metal Minis than not. With plastics, you're like, yes, I will melt 2 parts together. I'm done. With metal, it's like, you got to drill, you got to pin, epoxy. It's like, Jesus, man, let me just put the mini down. Let me be done. Thankfully, with these, it's more so just like bending the axe back into position and gluing it to the base. And I'm completely fine with them looking like this. I don't want to convert them. Again, it is just great nostalgia, and I love these sculpts so much. You know, revisiting your childhood at a much later date is always a good thing. 300 pounds of metal at 50% staff discount. Oh my god, that sounds good. That's a good deal. Yeah, when GW gives you discounts like that, they exactly know where your paycheck's going. It's like, how could you not? It's like, we're going to pay you to just buy the shit you get paid to do. You know? Like, that's awesome. That's an experience. After this song, I'm leaving. I won't be tempted with 20 more minutes of scraping metal. I bought so much GW stuff at 70% off. That's awesome. What I would do for stores that were closing or moving is I want their promotional stuff. I want the GW, like, racks. I want the posters. I want the boards. That stuff's cool. Thankfully, I don't really buy minis anymore. I've got what I want, and, like, there's kind of nothing in the stores that call to me. You know, like the old world coming back, I'll be picking up the new sculpts that come out. So, like, Ungrim, the Thane with the rifle, stuff like that. But I don't really buy Warhammer. They had a paint rack, but somebody had already bought it. Yeah, stuff like that's cool. Am I live? My monitors are, like, bugging out. Those are cool. Yeah, those are really cool. I've seen a few of those paint racks on, like, the secondary market, but people want hundreds, and shipping is hundreds. And then you need to know where to put them, and it's like, well, I live in a shack, and there's no space. Green stuff, yeah. I mean, for me, it's more so not a paint rack. It's just like a GW store display. That's the allure to it for me. Like, actually, it being a paint rack is great. Don't get me wrong, but when I walk into this room, I want to be surrounded with, like, my childhood. Hence why all this shit's even in here to begin with. I'm living the pod life. Well, you may have more in common with dwarves than I ever will. You just gotta put yourself underground, and you're in some confined little space. Okay, the song is over. I have to leave. I can't sit here again for like 30 minutes doing this. I have to go. We're going to be on the other channel. I just need to go clean up. And, yeah. Take this off. If I wanted to do that, I'd have to make a room dedicated to Firstborn and Old World Eaters. I mean, yeah, honestly, whatever your passion is, and if you've got the space, why not? You're already doing Warhammer, and if you're doing this shit, you could do this shit. So, with that being said, I'm out of here, folks. Everybody take care of yourselves. Be well. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all tomorrow on this channel or in about 10 minutes on the other channel. All right? Peace, folks. take care and enjoy the rest of your night. Peace, everyone. Peace, peace. Take care, guys.